internet. Inconsistent access to high-speed internet. Approximately one-third of Iowans, over 680,000 people, do not have even the slowest definition of broadband service. Less than 20% of our population has super-fast internet service, putting us 47th in the nation. And we're running behind our peers in the Midwest as well. Iowa has done well despite these weaknesses. We've recruited high-tech companies like Facebook, Google, and Microsoft. West Des Moines has recently been named the E-City in Iowa, and Cedar Rapids recently became a gigabyte city. And we have a growing tech startup community in places like Des Moines and Cedar Rapids. But I know we can do better, and we need to do better. Today I'm pleased to announce the launch of our effort to Connect Every Iowan. The primary goal of this project will be to increase the access, adoption, and use of broadband technology throughout the state. We want to make Iowa the most connected state in the Midwest as measured by the TechNet State Broadband Index. We currently rank 11th of 12 Midwestern states, behind North Dakota, Minnesota, Illinois, Kansas, South Dakota, Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Missouri, and Nebraska. In order to move up the index, we must improve in three areas: the household adoption rate of broadband technology, the network speeds of available broadband infrastructure, and growth in internet-related economic structures. As an important first step to achieve these goals, I've charged the STEM Advisory Council's existing broadband committee with three tasks. First, I've asked them to recommend policies which will encourage the build-out of broadband technology throughout the state, particularly in unserved and underserved areas. I expect their recommendations by December 1st so they can be considered during the next legislative session. Secondly, I've instructed the committee to identify and pursue any federal funding opportunities or public-private partnerships which may assist us in reaching our goals. Finally, I've asked the committee to develop a long-term broadband strategy for the state of Iowa, and I expect their strategic plan to be complete by January 1 of 2015. I'm confident Iowans all across the state will benefit from this initiative. Most importantly, more broadband access means more jobs for Iowans. According to the Brookings Institute, for each additional percentage of broadband penetration, we can expect employment to increase by up to 0.3% each year. This will be a key factor in continuing to grow our economy and putting Iowans back to work. At this time, I'm pleased to turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds for more about this exciting initiative.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Governor Branstad, and I certainly am excited to be a part of this effort to connect every Iowan. As you know, I have made advancement in STEM fields one of my top priorities while serving as the Lieutenant Governor. And while this effort really aligns perfectly with our focus on STEM, it also impacts economic development, public safety, health care, and education. As a product of small-town Iowa, I am passionate about economic development in rural Iowa. But as the economy is continuing to change, Iowans are interacting differently with each other, and they are interacting differently with businesses. Online sales in Iowa account for approximately $2.9 billion in sales revenue for Iowa businesses, yet about half of Iowa businesses still operate without a website or without a web presence. Broadband connected businesses in Iowa have annual median sales approximately $300,000 higher than those without broadband access. Yet 22,000 Iowa businesses, again, still don't have broadband access. We need to make sure that rural Iowa has the tools to stay connected, because connectivity is a great equalizer. Connectivity will allow us to grow and preserve rural Iowa while keeping us competitive while competing with other states for economic development projects. Connectivity will allow us to better educate our students. Already over 120 school districts throughout Iowa are participating in the one-to-one initiative, which is pairing students with digital devices. Increased broadband access is needed to maximize the impact of these initiatives, to enhance instruction, and also to start to build not only regional collaboration, but also global collaboration. And these are just a few examples of how better connectivity can help improve the lives of Iowans. We believe that every Iowa, from students to small business owners to rural health care to public safety officers, can benefit from this initiative and this broadband technology access. We look forward to working with all of the stakeholders in this process to make Iowa the most connected state in the Midwest. The governor kind of ticked through where we rank right now, and we don't like those rankings. We can do better, and we will do better. So now it's my pleasure to turn the podium over to John Carver, who is superintendent at Howard Winneshiek, and he is also will serve as the chair of the STEM Advisory Council's Broadband Task Force. John?
Thank you. Good morning. Students with digital devices connected to the internet with teachers who can facilitate learning with these tools is a game changer. The creativity and imagination of learners collected globally is unlimited. The challenge for Iowa is broadband access to the internet. In the fall of 2012, the Governor's STEM Advisory Council established the Broadband Task Force. This group was charged to provide innovative proposals and suggest solutions to meet the pressing challenge of top-quality STEM education in Iowa. The task force included representatives from the community college, K-12 education, the legislature, the governor's office, and internet providers. Some of our findings were the Iowa School Finance Information Service surveyed all the Iowa school districts and on the broadband issue and concern, and with that survey we received a 52.6% return. One of the things we discovered is of the 120 school districts that are currently one-to-one, 63 school districts indicated they needed more bandwidth. We also discovered that the range of the average cost per megabit a month ranged from nothing to $4,134. This is unfair, and it creates a condition of haves and have-nots. Now, as you may know, the Department of Education is moving towards online student assessments. Well, this cannot have a meaningful implementation or distribution without broadband. Going forward, this fall, my district, the Howard Winn District, we joined other Iowa school districts like Spirit Lake, BCL-UW, Johnston, Des Moines, Hoover, and Van Meter, and we became a one-to-one school district, only we took it a step further. We issued every student, K-12, with a digital device. That's over 1,300 devices. For us, broadband is truly a challenge. The kids have access when they're on campus, but we're a very large school district, 432 square miles, and there is a broadband divide when the kids go home. What we also found is that there's an untapped potential workforce for those who can teleconnect. My wife, Pam, is a nurse, and we moved to Cresco from Van Meter a year ago, and she continues to work here in Des Moines, telecommuting every morning. Her commute is from our bedroom to the kitchen to the front room with a cup of coffee, so she never has to worry about snow days. In my neighborhood, in our district, we are 50 miles from the Mayo Clinic. And as you may know, the Mayo Clinic is wanting to become a medical destination, and they're projecting at hiring 30,000 people in the next 5 years. Many of those could live in Iowa and telecommute to Rochester. With broadband, you can have the quality of life of living in rural Iowa and work globally. Like the electrification of rural America and the building of farm-to-market roads, broadband connectivity must become a priority at the highest level. Broadband internet access is the foundation of 21st century creating, learning, and commerce. And it's our hope that Iowa becomes the hot spot of the United States. Going forward, I'm excited and honored to co-chair this committee with Robert Wolfroth. And in my world, if I mispronounce a name, I have to give that individual $1. So, Bob, I'm giving you $50 when we're done here. So that should just... Okay. Yeah. But no, I'm excited to be co-chairing this with Bob VW, and I value and highly appreciate the technical and administrative support that Amy Cooler and her team from Connect Iowa will be giving us. And Governor, thank you for this opportunity to serve.
Thank you, John. And I think Amy's next.
I'm the short one in the group. Thank you, Governor Branstad, Lieutenant Governor, Superintendent Carver. I am honored to stand here today as we embark to connect every Iowan. The expansion of broadband is critical to the advancement of education, healthcare, public safety, government, and agriculture in our state. In fact, the increase in connectivity is going to impact all sectors as our people are able to communicate, work, and learn with greater efficiency and more abilities. Connect Iowa's mission is to ensure that all Iowans have the opportunity to prosper through broadband connectivity and the related technologies that come with that. Connect Iowa is a nonprofit subsidiary of Connected Nation, which is a national technology organization that's dedicated to bridging the digital divide. We work with public and private organizations across the state, and we collect broadband data, we create the broadband coverage maps, we offer key policy insights, we help deploy technical assistance, and we work with facilitating community planning. Connect Iowa operates with the support and the leadership of the Iowa Economic Development Authority. IEDA is a valuable partner in our efforts to boost economic development through the deployment of broadband across Iowa. And we're funded in part by the U.S. Department of Commerce's National Telecommunications and Information Administration under their State Broadband Initiative program. With that, we are able to join this initiative without adding any additional cost to the state. I want to emphasize how important the private sector is going to be to this undertaking. Connect Iowa works to leverage the technology community, and through our programs, we've been fortunate to have almost 200 technology companies voluntarily contributing data to these efforts, and we're eager to work with those partners to get their input and have their investment in this Connect Every Iowan initiative. Twice a year, Connect Iowa reports the broadband landscape of Iowa. We release research-based studies that provide insights into the technology uses of businesses and how we use it at home. Our experience in producing and releasing these statewide broadband reports, I think, is a natural fit for this new body, and it aligns with the mission. And I think we're going to be able to hit the ground running as we start this initiative moving forward. As Executive Director of this important initiative, Connect Iowa will be facilitating the meetings, and we will help in the planning efforts of the STEM Broadband Committee. Our first meeting has already been set, as a matter of fact. We'll be meeting next week, a week from today, September 10th. It will be at 9 o'clock at the Iowa Economic Development Authority's building. And we do aim to meet twice a month going forward through December so that we can have those policy recommendations ready for the governor by December. In addition, we're going to be providing information and soliciting public input and input from our stakeholders on a website that will be launched today or tomorrow. That address is http://governor.iowa.gov/connect. So be watching for that. We'll be able to gather more, output more information to you, as well as solicit your input for recommendations. Getting the remaining 29% of our population online is not going to be an easy task, but the risk of doing nothing is too great. This mission is going to require that the public and private sectors get together, and in order to do this, we're going to be connecting with a diverse group of stakeholders, chambers of commerce, private sector companies, and we're going to go to local leaders within communities to get their support and their input in this initiative. The governor and the STEM leadership have thoroughly and thoughtfully convened a talented group of individuals to be a part of the Broadband STEM Committee. This group is passionate about this mission, and they will be forward-thinking about the advancement of broadband in the state. And again, I cannot overstate the meaningful impact that broadband expansion will have on the quality of life of the citizens of Iowa. We will have more jobs. We will have better opportunities for education. We will have new innovations and new opportunities for our future generations. And I'm very happy, and I thank you again for bringing Connect Iowa into this partnership. We are so eager to be part of a strategy that's going to help Iowa become the most connected state in the Midwest. So thank you.
Amy, thank you, and John Carver, thank you. We would open it to questions on this subject. I think what we've discovered is it really takes a public-private partnership to be effective. And neither can the public sector or the private sector but do it by ourselves. Obviously, you've heard about the school's needs, but there's also considerable needs among private sector business and also individual families throughout the state of Iowa. So we think this approach, which gets everybody involved, makes the most sense. And we're excited about it. I think we've got the right players involved in it, and I think and think about it. Look at the success we've had when we've had public-private partnerships, whether it's the renovation and improvement of the state fair, what we're doing now with the state park system, what we've done for economic development in this state. We find that oftentimes it does take some incentives from the public sector, but primarily the investments come from the private sector. This is a problem that other states are dealing with as well. Rural states in particular, I think, have some real challenges here. I think we're fortunate that we do have this fiber optics backbone network that served very much needs of education and health care and our National Guard and emergency needs. But we do obviously have a need for being able to meet the challenge out there and to be able to grow our economy, making sure that we have this broadband coverage for everybody. So I think this is a logical extension of what needs to be done, and I'm really pleased that we have the partners we have involved in this. And obviously STEM is really important, and but the connectivity is going to be critical for us to utilize those skills. Well, the stimulus was under the previous administration. Connect Iowa can maybe answer that.
That is the funding that we received our funding through, and we did through that not only to do the statewide mapping that we do, that we submit data on, and we do collect that data from almost 200 providers. We've got almost a 98+% rate from responses from our providers. We have rock star telco providers in our state. And then there were additional BTOP funds, those ARA funds that did go through the Iowa Communications Network as well.
So the BTOP funds, what we're talking about?
Through our organization, no build-out funds. It was all capacity and mapping. The BTOP funds that were available to the Iowa Communications Network, they did receive some funding for some build-out and equipment updates on that.
Well, I think the point is that other states have I know the state of Missouri had a task force that worked on this, I think, a couple years ago. So I think we've reached a point where we think it's time the state of Iowa have a public-private partnership and a concerted effort on this, and we see it very much fitting with our whole STEM efforts. And you want to add some more about that?
The indices that are used for the ranking, where we sit right now, 11 out of 12 in the Midwest states, is a different set of indices than you might have seen in other studies. They look at broadband adoption, which is a key component. That's why we've got that chunk of population, that 29% that aren't adopting in the state yet. We really need to work on that. We talk about access a lot. Adoption is key. It's a three-legged stool with adoption, access, and use. Other indices they look at in this are surprisingly, they look at apps intensity. They look at the number of jobs that are either directly or indirectly related to the growth and the creation of mobile applications. So that's a whole new industry. They're looking forward. So they're looking at criteria that I think Iowa is just really on the cusp of launch. And I think we're going to see, with this new initiative, we're really going to see some increases in our ranking as we go forward.
We don't know at this point, but I think what's going to do is give us an idea of what the costs are going to be. And we look at this as being a public-private partnership. We're going to obviously look at what kind of federal grants might be available, but we're also going to look at what kind of partnership and what kind of investments the private sector might be able to make as well. The state wants to be a partner in this. We want to move this forward as quickly as we can.
Correct. Well, the ICN is an important state asset. As many of you may know, 4 years ago, there were only about a handful of one-to-one schools in the state of Iowa. There were 13. And in 4 years' time, we've gone to 120 school districts. That means that there are thousands of Iowa kids that have digital devices in their hands, and educational systems are trying to figure out, okay, how do you teach using those tools? Had we not had the ICN, you would have not seen the proliferation of the one-to-one schools throughout the state. And the other thing, too, is if you look at the landscape of the United States, Iowa, percentage-wise, has the largest percentage of one-to-one schools. And this is a process. We are in uncharted ground, and there is no one solution. It takes multiple points of light to make this go. And I would concur with what Amy mentioned, is that, and the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor, Iowa is very well positioned to step through the looking glass and to reclaim our lead in education. But again, providing that broadband internet throughout the state, it will take all of us, as it'll have to be a strategic purpose.
I'm not familiar with what he did, but I just know that what we have here is first of all, we have a very successful STEM initiative, which has kind of laid the groundwork for this. We also have the benefit of some of the federal funds that have been there that have been invested already. You've heard John Carver talk about the one-to-one, where every student in his school, and this is happening in more and more schools across the state, are now having a laptop or having a device that they can use. I was familiar with what we did with this at Des Moines University, and my son went to Buena Vista University, which is one of the first schools in the country, I think, to do that. But that is really, I think, the way education of the future is going to be delivered, and we want to make sure that we're, on the cutting edge of this very important technology. That could be part of it. We're not going to try to today say what the recommendations are going to be. They're going to be meeting, as you've heard, every couple of weeks, and they're going to be getting a lot of input and ideas. And we really want to utilize the assets and the resources we have, and the ICN is certainly one of those resources, but there are many others as well that we want to utilize. Sure. I think, what we've found is when the public sector and the private sector come together and we see mutual benefit, so we can see the opportunity for private sector businesses to be able to grow and serve more people. We see the need for the public sector to meet some of the education and other public needs. There can be a win-win situation. That's what we hope that will come out of this.
And then they're represented on the task force also. So they'll have an opportunity to sit down with a group of people to really discuss how we provide and expand broadband access throughout the state of Iowa. So part of a successful task force is making sure that all stakeholders are at the table as we walk through what we need to do to implement changes, and they will be represented on the task force.
Well, a lot of this stuff has been developed since then. I mean, you know, I guess we're fortunate that Iowa had the foresight to make this kind of capital infrastructure investment early on, and now we have this asset available. But listen, at that time, I don't think you even had Facebook and a lot of these companies that are now major investors in our state. They didn't even exist. And honestly, how do we know where this is going to go in the next decade or so? But I think we realize that this interconnectivity is going to be key to economic development, and we want Iowa to be in a leading position in this. We've had great success already with our economic development. When you have companies like Google and Facebook and Microsoft that have chosen the state of Iowa, but we also see a number of startups as well. And the potential here, I think, is great. We just want to position us to be as well prepared as possible.
Well, when I served as state senator for Senate District 48, I represented a very rural section of the state of Iowa, about the left corner of the state, and we had individuals that wanted to start businesses in Taylor County. They wanted to do a website business. They wanted to market a product, but they didn't have the broadband capacity to be able to do that. There's no reason that with Principal and John Deere, a lot of the existing companies right now located in the more urban communities, that they can't be telecommunicating from home. It's green, it's efficient, and it's a great opportunity, again, to help rural Iowa be successful and to grow economically. And, you know, we talked a little bit about education. Technology is changing, and we talked about the way that individuals interact with business and as well as education. And with the new assessment pieces coming forward, it is going to be internet-based. Teachers and educators are excited about that because of the reduction in the time that it takes, and they can meet the needs of students quicker. But in order to implement that change, which is for the best, we need to make sure that we have the capacity to do that.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. No, I think in the future, you know, you could have said that 50 years ago about electricity, but we've got electricity to all those places. You know, this is electricity of the future. This is going to be critically important to economic progress, and we want to make sure that we don't have people left out.
Well, I don't know if we want to tell those people in rural Iowa that they're not going to be able to use their cell phone anymore or be able to communicate through smart devices. It's happening, it's there, and we need to build on the infrastructure that we already have in place. We are really poised, again, for significant growth in broadband access, and we look forward to getting the results from the Task Force Committee in December so we could start to move forward.
Great, thanks, everybody. Other questions, just shoot me emails. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, very good.